Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talk Scottish Football. It is Tuesday, the 1st of June. Is it Tuesday? It is Tuesday. And it is currently 5:34 in the evening. We're 4 minutes late. Dev's fault completely. I'll let him justify it in a minute. We've got a few things to talk about. Scotland play the Netherlands tomorrow night, first friendly game. As we prepare for the Euros, there's some managerial gossip. Obviously, the never-ending drama that is the Celtic managerial appointment rolls on. There's a lot of news coming out from England today about Steven Gerrard, which I thought was interesting, and a whole host of other things. But I'll start with you, Dev, since you were late, and you can explain to people why you were late.
What was that about Steven Gerrard? I've just about shat myself.
Have you not heard the news?
I have not. What's the news?
Well, we'll just kick right off. It's a bit of a nothing story, but I thought it was worth mentioning.
Oh, right.
The Athletic are reporting that he is on Everton's shortlist to replace Carlo Ancelotti. So that was an interesting bit of news. I know, absolutely mental, never going to happen, but certainly worthy of bringing up. And I put it in the title because I love a bit of clickbait. So, Dev, how are you doing, mate? You all right?
I'm doing all right, mate. I didn't get into 25 past there, and as you know, I need to chuck coal into my laptop to get it going. So we got here in the end. You know what I mean?
Nice. Kieran, how you doing, mate? It's nice to see you because last time we invited you on for a live show, you weren't having it.
No, it was a rough weekend. But I know I've been able to calibrate my thoughts now, so I think I could maybe get a wee bit of conversation now.
Nice. Are you on the Ange Postecoglou hype bus yet?
I wouldn't go that far, but I feel like I'm warming to the idea because I'm being forced to warm to the idea by the Celtic board. But it's just such a horrible situation we find ourselves in.
It's a lovely name to say. I'm looking forward to saying it again throughout the show. But we'll kick off with Scotland before we come to that. Netherlands tomorrow night. Deb, we talked a wee bit about this in last night's video, and we were down at Hampden. We both got the sun, which is killing me today. I've got a really sore head because of it. But we've said a lot about how this is the perfect preparation for the England game. Andy Robertson came out yesterday and said that he thinks it's the perfect game as well. I don't know about you, but I'm just really excited to see the boys on the pitch and see how they get on.
When I first seen that they were playing Holland, my initial thoughts were, I'm not too sure about it because it could potentially be one of those ones you go in and it's like for the confidence for the boys, if they go in and they take a scalping, it doesn't really help them. But having sat on it and when we were speaking about it, it does make sense because you're going in against one of the top teams, and also the fact that you're able to try things, you're able to give players opportunities, and even obviously you tell the players before it we're going to give you minutes, etc. So don't take it too hard if anything happens in the game that's like maybe a 2 or 3-0. Just get in and try things, express yourself and enjoy it. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it, to be honest, as he says, to see the lineup, to see how we play. Expecting it to obviously just be a wee bit of a nothing game where the guys just kind of run about and try things.
We briefly lost Kieran, but I think he's back now. Kieran, international friendlies are normally the worst thing in the world. I think he might have frozen again, actually, so I'm not going to go to him. I'm just going to keep talking. Oh, no, he's back. Is he there? Is it? We've got him?
He's here.
We've got him. Aye. Right, Kieran, international friendlies are normally really shit, but are you as excited for this one as I am?
I think it might be the first time I've ever been buzzing for a friendly with Scotland, just because it's actually... You're going to get to see the squad that probably will play against your Englands, and because this is a perfect opportunity. But in terms of the next friendly, I think you might start to see some more fringe players getting a chance snap. But this is definitely the game to try and play your strongest 11 because it's the biggest that you'll get.
Yeah,
or even potentially, just as you say that there, Kieran, Steve Clarke might even flip it in his head and surprise us all and go with some of the fringe players versus the Netherlands. Because he would really be throwing them in at the deep end if he did that, and then in the Luxembourg game maybe going with something that we could see in the first game. So it is interesting, as you say. Like, I've never been up for a friendly in my life, but I'm looking forward to this one just to see how it goes.
I'm very excited to see the team sheet. That's what I'm looking forward to the most initially, because I think it'll give us an indication of how he's thinking. I think the only real decisions are, well, I think for me the only big decision I think that he'll have is who he plays at right centre half, Kieran, because I think obviously McTominay's done that, but with no Ryan Jack in the squad, no Kenny McLean, you get the impression McTominay will probably play in midfield. So there's a headache. I'm trying to say the word hiccup and headache at the same time. I've said headache. I don't know how that works. Anyway, there's a headache there for Steve Clarke. I think we've lost Kieran again. I don't know. We've lost him. You know what? We're just gonna
I think I'm better restarting this laptop. Right, I'll try and be back in a couple of minutes.
Okay, that's fine.
It's actual brutal, man.
I'll pick up on it then. Like, Ryan Jack missing is a blow because, especially in the Serbia game, I thought that him and Callum McGregor complemented each other really well, and Scott McTominay done decent as well. There was a lot of question marks surrounding Scott McTominay playing at the back, and I thought in that game he showed what he can do because he's able to kind of get the ball and drive forward. And as I say, Ryan Jack and Callum McGregor complemented each other really, really well. But since Ryan Jack has fell out the fold, I don't think we've seen the best of Callum McGregor as well. The balance has kind of went a wee bit, and even in the last World Cup qualifiers, I thought the balance was a wee bit off still, because for all that McTominay, McGregor, and what do you call him? McGinn are really good players. I would like to see somebody in the middle that goes and gets the ball like a Ryan Jack does a lot of the running, does a lot of the dirty work as well. They players are really important. Do you know what I mean? And I just think the boy Billy Gilmore is perfect suited to that. I absolutely love him, the way he goes and gets on the ball, sprays it about, and stuff like that. So I would like to see him over the course of the next couple of games come in and show us what he can do. Yeah,
it's definitely an interesting one. I agree. I think Ryan Jack's a massive miss. Because I think if you've got Jack there sitting, like McGinn and McTominay, they're so full of energy and full of running. They like to get forward. And we'll come on to the England squad that's been announced. But I look at their midfield options, and I think we can get at them in there. I really do. I think if we make it a physical game, if we make it scrappy, we can really, really hurt them in there. And I think if you've got Ryan Jack sitting, it allows the other two to have a little bit less worry about doing the defensive side. Whereas I think now McTominay will probably play as a 6, which I'm not totally keen on. I think that restricts him too much. I think he's got too much, in an attacking sense. So it will be interesting. Listen, I think we'd all be very shocked if it's not McGregor, McGinn and McTominay. In Steve Clarke's mind, that is what he will do, I would have thought. Whether he goes with... I have a feeling he'll play Jack Hendry at right centre-half, just based on the last break. He did it against Austria and against Israel as well, I think. So I don't know. That's what I think he will do. But again, he didn't have Liam Cooper last time. He might push Hanley across, but Cooper in the middle. But again, as we said in the video last night, these are good problems to have.
Aye, absolutely. I think it's a great point there you make about the midfield and looking at England's options. Obviously, they're all talented players. But McGinn, McTominay and McGregor or Gilmore or whoever plays can certainly match them athletically, especially. McTominay's such an athlete. Like you were telling me yesterday, he was running 5Ks in a minute off the world record and such. So he's so athletic, and so is McGinn. That's one of his best attributes. He's so powerful. So if you can get a hold of that game in the midfield, you just never know how it could go. And I think that's where we do best match, because as defence, they're stronger than us. At forward line, they're stronger than us. But in that midfield, I think we could be a match for them, man. For sure.
Yeah, I think so too. A couple of welcome backs here. First of all, welcome back to Kieran, but also to the new number one fan at TSF. Daniel asked where he was, and one comment later he was back. So
put 5 past he says.
Yeah, at least he's
what's
not
happening,
doing
Stevie boy? Steve's for Poso, isn't he? He's kidding on. He's for Button, mate, but he's for Poso or something. He's for just down the road, isn't he, Stevie boy?
Yeah, he loves it here anyway. He's our absolute main fan now. Kieran, are you?
No, it's perfect now. It's
nice.
Back. We're alive and kicking out here. So.
What do you think? We're talking about the midfield there, because obviously the England squad's out. I don't know if you've had a look at it yet, but there are. I look at it and I think our midfield could cause them issues in there.
I mean, they've got some good players in there, but I mean, like for some of them, like, what do you think their starting midfield will be with England? But so we can match it up against them.
Jordan Henderson's fit, doesn't it? I think.
Because I feel like you can.
There's a lot of talk. I've seen some English fans saying it'd be right. I think they've played Rice and Phillips before sitting. Yeah. So I've seen some saying that with potentially the boy Bellingham in front, or obviously they've got options up top as well, like Foden, for example, can maybe fall back into the free as well. So they do have a lot of options for sure. But in that midfield, you would say Henderson's obviously the most experienced. There's a lot of these England players that are going into their first major competition, obviously, so is your guys. Do you know what I mean? But that's potentially where you could get them.
Yeah,
but at that level yet.
Those guys that are going in for England that have never played in a tournament before, there is pressure on them, whereas there is next to zero pressure on our lads. It's very much just go and do everything you can do. Mason Mount as well. I mean, listen, I think if it'll be Jordan Henderson and Declan Rice if they're both fit. But again, I know Henderson's fit, but he hasn't played a game for months and months and months. There's a big difference between training and playing games. I imagine he will play in the friendlies, and we'll see. But certainly, like if you talk about Rice and Phillips, Kieran, two good players. Don't get me wrong, but John McGinn and Scott McTominay are also two very good Premier League midfielders. So there's no reason for us to be worried about that.
I know. I don't think. I mean, they're obviously, as you said, they're good players, but I don't think it's going to be a challenge that we won't be able to handle, because these guys are playing against players very similar to this, if no better, week in, week out than the Premier League. John McGinn, when he's got a Scotland top on, I feel sometimes he plays completely out of his skin. That game against Serbia, it was unreal. If we got him about that pitch causing issues in their midfield, I honestly think it's probably our best position, our best. In terms of depth in that for midfield, we've got some really good midfielders. So I don't know if the game will be won and lost in the midfield. You've got a lot of stuff going down the wings in terms of their attack. If you know they've got Trent, is he going to play? Is he going to be the attacking right back? But then you've got Robertson to sort of counteract that. So there will be some interesting battles.
By the way, what a battle that would be! I mean, I'd love to be able to see that those two going up against each other, know each other inside out. Because I would imagine, listen, Trent Alexander's in the squad. There's been a lot of talk about him. He will probably play in the Scotland game. If you're an England fan, you're thinking, listen, I know that mad Rory guy got slagged off for it and stuff, but that is going to be the game at the three that they will expect, rightly or wrongly, they will expect to have more of the ball, more chances, more goals. So he will probably play in that game. I do worry about the wide areas, because I think if we play the 3-5-2 or whatever, England can do both. They can play a 4 or a 3, Dev. So there's probably the wide area is a really interesting battle, I'd say.
Aye, absolutely. That dynamic that you spoke about there, potentially Trent versus Andy Robertson, that'll be tasty, because you see them at Liverpool, they're so competitive. So that could get absolutely feisty. I'm looking forward to this game for sure.
If that turns into a battle, there's only one man I'm backing.
Oh, aye, for sure. Aye, Andy boy, fitness. Talk about technical ability, but Trent, I can't believe there was people saying he shouldn't be in the squad. Like, have a word with yourself, man. Technically, he's unbelievable, man. Jesus Christ. But anyway, we're talking about Scotland, didn't we? Kieran, what do you think is Scotland's best shape? Is it the 4 at the back or the 3? Because I know what me and David think, but what do you think, mate?
I mean, I think with the 3, you've got that, like you've got the ability for the fullbacks to drop back and give you the 5, which I think, as much as we've seen Scotland play quite decent, I think that's heavily reliant on how good defensively we actually play. Because, I mean, even though we've got decent players going forward, that's the thing that's really helped with Steve Clarke coming in. He's managed teams before that have been really hard to beat defensively. They're so well drilled, and that's exactly what's been brought to Scotland, because that's exactly what Scotland needed. So I think playing the 3 and allowing it to go back to the 5 whenever we're under the cosh, I think that's probably our best bet.
Yeah, I think the 3-5-2 is an interesting one, because if Andy Robertson or Kieran Tierney get injured, I think that's knackered, because initially that system I think was brought in to get them both in the team, and also it was the 3-5-2 was to incorporate McTominay in that back 3, but now you need McTominay in the middle. If one of those two was to get injured, you're then looking at playing it and thinking, right, we're not doing it to shoehorn the players in anymore. Do we then have a back 3 of, say, Hendry, Hanley, and Cooper? Do we feel as confident about that? There's decisions to be made. I think you mentioned it, Dev. I think against Luxembourg, he will switch to a 4 at some point, whether that's even just for the second half. He will need to try that out at some point, I'd have thought, Dev.
When we played the 4 against the Faroes, it was the 4 against the Faroes, wasn't it? They implemented that. I thought we were really good. I thought we were in real, but
Israel as well. He changed it.
Tough against Israel, why? That's a big thing I'd love to see for Steve Clarke in this competition. Actually going for it a wee bit, because in the last qualifiers there, I was upset to quote Drake. Sorry to get all Gandhi on you there, but I was a wee bit upset, because I feel as though sometimes Steve Clarke doesn't trust the players as much as he should. And as you say, Kieran, he is the sort of guy that comes in and makes us defensive and makes us hard to beat, which has got us into this position. But now that we're here, I'd like to see him trust him a wee bit more, because that second half versus Israel, we came out over a different team. Yeah. But that was points lost, obviously. Even the Austria game, we showed we were a match for them. And in the Faroes game, he let them off the leash completely, and they ran away with it. Obviously, the Faroes aren't very good at football, but I'd like to see them in this competition. Just let them off the leash a wee bit.
Though, I have to say, Plumbers and electricians are good at that.
Very good. Excellent.
What was I going to say there? I can't remember where I was going to go with that now.
What's the chat saying?
The chat is Specs has joined in the chat, so he's getting the reaction you'd expect. All the fanboys are loving it. His ego will be absolutely flying to the roof just now. Where was I going to go with that? I can't even remember now. He's distracted me. God, I'm a celebrity in the chat. It's distracted me. Right. So, the game itself, the Netherlands game, obviously a good side. Does the result matter, Kieran?
I mean, we're saying we could just sit here and say it doesn't matter. But if we go out and get a shock win, we're going to be like, oh, we're going to go and win the Euros. It's going to help a lot to boost morale. But in terms of if we get beat, I don't think we should look too much into it, because it really is a game just to try and get things gelling in time for the tournament, and it gives us a much needed like test against harder opposition. And as you were talking about, I feel like the second friendly might be like to try and implement a more attacking style to try and get that sorted before the tournament, so we can adapt it if need be. But in terms of, I don't think the result will matter too much, but if we win, it will definitely matter.
Yeah, I think the defensive performance will be the most important thing, Dev. If we can keep them quiet, that will be the biggest encouragement we can take from this, I'd say.
Fuck the defence. I hate being defensive. No, you're right. We need to go into this and obviously show them respect, but I would love it if we just showed up and just bossed it. I would absolutely love it.
But then again, how many times have we seen Scotland teams over the last 20 years have a right good go against the big teams? Spain, Italy, France, and we never got anything. So Steve Clarke's kind of damned if he does, damned if he doesn't, because he's made us, okay, we're a little bit boring at times, but we're qualified for a major tournament. Scotland win 1-0 quite regularly. That's just never happened in my lifetime. So, and now everyone's wanting to be kind of attack-minded. I do get where you're coming from. I think that certainly in that last break, the Austria game especially, I thought they could have been got at. I thought every time we went forward, they struggled. I think it'll be the same against Czech Republic and Croatia. If we really have a go and get at them, we'll get some joy. Kieran, I want to get your thoughts on this, because me and Dev spoke about this yesterday, but there's going to be 12,000 at Hampden for the Czech Republic and Croatia game. Now, it's not as easy for a home team to sit off and play defensive at home when you've got 12,000 there going absolutely mental in the stand. That should boost us on a bit.
Mm-hmm. I know. I feel like it might encourage us to actually, if it wasn't the plan already, to actually try and be a bit more ruthless and maybe go for the kill sort of thing. But I don't know, because it's such an important game. Like, if we don't get off to a good start, then it really puts a dent in the confidence for the rest of the tournament, because this is a game that realistically we need to win if we want to try and get through this group stage. So it's just, I think it's about finding the perfect balance between being defensive and actually taking the chances when we get them, because I don't think no matter how well we play, I don't think we're going to be given a plethora of chances against Czech Republic. It will be a case in this tournament of taking what we're given.
Mm-hmm. I think that's one thing we've become good at, though, Dev, with the attacking players we've got. Dykes especially suits that down to the ground. He will run and run and run. He'll bring others into play. He'll make chances. Set pieces we've become a threat from as well. So, again, we mentioned the defensive side, but also part of the defensive side of the Netherlands game will be the counter-attack. We've got to make sure we can counter-attack with some regularity and effectively.
Aye, absolutely. We've seen in the past that on the counter-attack we've been decent and we've got the players for it. Che Adams coming into the fold as well. I've been really impressed with him. He's been really good. And for all that, I absolutely loved Lyndon Dykes when he came out of Scotland, and I still do. Che's just on another level, isn't he? For me, so. Like he just gives it just gives you a wee bit more. And I would love to see the two of them play together. Will we see that or no? I'm not too sure, because they're obviously two proper strikers. They're going to be up there a lot of the time. Scotland maybe won't have a lot of the ball, so we might end up going with the one. But I've lost my train of Che Adams. Good.
Yeah. What I will say, I love Che Adams as well. I think you did see it in glimpses last time, Kieran. He is a next level of footballer to Lyndon Dykes. But look at the England game in isolation. I would personally have Lyndon Dykes starting over Che Adams against England. I think there's other games. Maybe the Czech game suits Adams more. Maybe.
See, the England game isn't going to be a game which we're going to be going out and playing some nice football. It's going to be taking the chances we get given, as I said earlier. But it's about being well drilled, and it's just going to suit us perfectly, playing the balls up to Lyndon Dykes. And I fancy him, even against a Maguire, a John Stones, to actually, he's proved it in other games that he's able to get himself up and bring the ball and hold it up for players to come up the park. And that's exactly what we're going to do against England, because we're going to be under the cosh for most of the game. So it's just a case of taking the chances when we get it. And I feel our best chance is him holding it up for other people to get up the park.
Yeah,
I'm loving the chat here. I'm loving the chat. Somebody just says that Steve eats Russell's burgers. How many? Do you think he likes Russell's burgers with Steve?
There was somebody who said that something about having pot noodles and a George Foreman, which I thought was quite good.
Also, Davey, the gauntlet's been laid to Steve Thompson, the Burton fan, to get him on before the England game for a wee preview. What are we saying about that? You up for it, Steve? You up for it, my man?
Aye, well, listen, good content. Charity boxing, let's do it. Right, Beans had asked, thoughts on Steve Clarke's new contract? Well, I don't think it's been... Ian Maxwell said that he was looking to offer him one. It kind of seems like a no-brainer, Dev, doesn't it?
My head's just gone mental places at the moment, to be honest. This chat's just full of too much carry on. I'm absolutely loving it. Where my head's gone with this is, right, yes, maybe he gets a new contract, but what do you think Steve Clarke is getting his agent to ask for in that contract? Like, what obscure thing do you think he's asking for? Like a new lawnmower or anything? Like just anything just pure random. That's where my head's gone with this.
Something like making sure that the cafeterias are stocked with the right tea bags. He strikes me the kind of guy that likes a specific type of tea. You know, a nice strong cup of tea. What else? I don't know what Steve Clarke does for fun.
I can imagine him enjoying a good book by a fireplace, like a nice wee log fire. Maybe he's asking for one of them to get installed in the home dressing room at Hampden.
A
year's subscription to Audible. Is that what it's called? On Amazon. That's what he's after, isn't he?
Yeah. God, dearie me. I know. Yeah, what a character. What a character. It's just an infectious character.
I don't know. Is he a character? I don't know.
Is he?
Like,
well, I actually think he's quite funny sometimes.
So
he's so dry.
He's so dry. He's so dry. He needs to Louis sail up a wee bit sometimes. But there's a lot of people that say off camera, away from media duties, actually, he's a wee bit of a boy.
Yeah, well, the players love him. The players rave about him constantly. But one thing that I find notable about what the players have said about him is that the atmosphere, all the players say the atmosphere amongst the squad now is class. You know, they used to just sit at separate tables, not get on. You know, I can't remember who it was. I heard the interview saying it. But apparently now it might be O'Donnell an open goal actually. Just that that it's a great place to be there, which is I suppose when you're winning, it's a bit easier, Kieran, to be happy going away with Scotland. But certainly, with other jobs coming about, you want to get him tied down because you wouldn't want to have to replace him anytime soon. That'd be a nightmare.
I know, but you're saying about the atmosphere as well, but because it must be a lot better for players actually wanting to go away to Scotland, because I'd imagine in the past it's felt like an absolute chore to have to go away, and you've seen so many players pulling out and getting accused of feigning injury, or was it Andy Robertson had to go away for some dental thing? He had to go for dental surgery or something instead of playing for Scotland, and everybody's kicking up fuck about that. So it's just, I don't know, he's brought back the sort of pride in playing for the national team, which I feel probably was lost for a long time, because you've seen some of the players that were actually getting a game for Scotland, and now you look at the squad now, it's night and day. But in terms of his new contract, there's no reason not to give him one, regardless of how this goes at the tournament. He still got his tea, our first tournament in 23 years, so there's not much argument to be had.
What a cushy job it is, though. I know we might be spending too much time on this, but see, being an international manager, you get 8 months off and all that.
Especially at that time of your career, it's a cushy job.
Aye.
I think he said he wouldn't have taken it 5 years before he did, but listen, I also think Steve Clarke's one of those that when you see him talk to the press, he's very dry and very boring, never gives much away. I get the feeling behind the scenes with the players, he'd be completely different. I can see him being energetic at the training, really. I think he is quite a hands-on coach by all accounts, and what a coaching team he's assembled, because it is very bizarre. You've got Stephen Reid, who's an Irishman, John Carver is a Geordie, and Steve Clarke. And it on paper shouldn't really work. It's like a joke on paper, but they seem to all be very popular with the squad, which is a far cry from the last management team we had, which was just a bit of a shit show. But yeah. All the Celtic dazzle want him as the next Celtic manager still, no doubt. Anyway, let's move on from there. I'm wondering where else we can go with Scotland, because I want to keep the momentum going. I'm very much now in complete Euros mood. It's not gonna change for me. One thing I'll get your opinion on, Kieran, because I've asked Dev about this. Stephen O'Donnell is obviously going to be the starting right back. Squad numbers came out last night, incidentally, and I think he had the number 2, which is, if that needed to be confirmed, it was then. But Nathan Patterson is the backup right back. So if Stephen O'Donnell gets injured, he's going to be, out of the 3 that were sort of called up, Gilmore, Turnbull and Patterson, I would suspect that Patterson might see the most game time.
I know, he's got the best chance, especially when he's in a position where he's only got one person ahead of him. It's pretty much the same situation that he's had at Rangers. Tav got injured and he got his chance to shine. It could very much happen again. But with Turnbull and Gilmore, they've got plenty of people ahead of them in the pecking order, that it's going to take a lot of misfortune for them to get shoehorned into the midfield of Scotland. So I don't know. I think he might get a chance against Luxembourg to show what he can do, even if it's just for a half, coming on for the second half or whatever. I do think he'll get to get a showing for Scotland. And I don't know. Hopefully nothing does happen to O'Donnell, because as much as everybody's been critical of him, he done quite well against Austria back in the last international break.
I think he's more than good value for his place based on his performances for Scotland. I think he's been very good recently. What I will say though, Div, is I can't see him playing 90 minutes at right wing back in a tournament. That would be some shift. You'd imagine maybe he'll rotate.
It would be to be fair. It would be to be fair, but usually if you go off the previous qualifiers and such, he has played pretty much every game, even though Liam Palmer has been there.
Mm-hmm.
But is that because Liam Palmer's nowhere near good enough or whatever to play, whereas Patterson is a wee
Palmer
bit
was
closer?
playing though. Palmer was playing, and I think he missed a game or a squad, and O'Donnell got in and didn't look back. But it seemed for a long while that they were very much neck and neck. I think if Palmer was in this squad, I would be dead certain that he would start one of the games, because I didn't think there was much of a difference between the two. Now the fact that you've got such a young guy underneath, I'm not convinced Clarke will go for it. But it's interesting. One bit of news we haven't brought up that was, I probably should have started with this, but John Fleck obviously has got COVID apparently. No close contacts, Kieran, which I thought was an interesting bit of news. How that's possible, I have no idea, but I'm not complaining.
He's took his PlayStation 5 with him, hasn't he? He's just been in the room.
Well, Stuart Armstrong and fucking, who was it that were playing PS5 and they got done? Who was it? Armstrong and
Tierney and all that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Christie.
They were playing on an online game and they got identified as close contacts. But I get the feeling that I've seen a lot of people, like people moaning on Twitter about the SFA using the rules for themselves and stuff. Why are people moaning about this? Let's just keep it hush. That'll do. No close contacts, no harm.
And it's beneficial for the Scotland squad in this situation, but I don't know if it would have been different if we were actually back here for the game. I don't know if they're playing it off as different rules because of the different country they're in or whatever. But it's in Spain, it doesn't count. But so I don't really know what's happening. But if it's playing to their benefit and everybody else is tested negative, I'm not really caring.
Yeah, I think some people have said in the comments who's going to replace him, Dev, but I don't think he'll need to be replaced because he'll be back in time for. He should be back in time for the start of the tournament.
If it's 10 days for now, then the Euros kicks off 10 days for now. So
because Clarke said today is asymptomatic, he's absolutely fine. So it'd be really frustrating for him though. You can imagine he'll be absolutely gutted because he would have got minutes. Because I think everyone will get minutes over the next two games.
Nah, God willing, he comes through it safely, man. Obviously, but if you're saying he's asymptomatic, that's good. He'll be back. He'll be back in amongst it in the next. Was it 10 days? 2 weeks or whatever?
Yeah. 10 days.
Obviously, it's no great for his chances of getting a lot of minutes because fitness-wise, they'll need to throw a couple of treadmills into his room or something, and I don't know. Get him on Zoom or something like that.
You'd be going to Lally, sitting in a hotel room, and the boys are outside training. It's roasting hot. You'd be raging, but
it's ginger though.
Yeah, I mean, the absolute cynic in me makes me kind of thankful it was him, but that's quite poor form. So I'll leave it there.
Listen, I don't like this the flaky slander, by the way, because I see in the last for all everybody talks about Kenny McLean, right? And I like Kenny McLean, but every time he's been given an opportunity in a Scotland jersey, I don't think he's took it. He started versus Faroe Islands the first half. I didn't think he was great. Fleck came on for a wee bit in the second half, and I thought he was good. He got on the ball. He done well. He sprayed it about. I don't like the slander. I do not like it one bit. Since leaving Rangers, won titles at Rangers, went down south, made a name for himself in the Championship at Coventry, get promoted with Sheffield United against the odds, played every single game. Everybody was ranting and raving about him. Top 10 in the Premier League. Then because he won bad season, he's all of a sudden shite and should be out. David,
he's been shite for Scotland, mate. He's not had a good game for Scotland. Coming on against a tired Faroe Islands team, hardly achieves in. Fuck me, I'd look a player coming.
Here's Kenny McLean, but everybody sucks him off.
Kenny McLean is vital to the fact we're even at this tournament, though.
But because it's got a pen, though, I'm pretty sure.
Sounds.
Know what I mean?
But also, it would be a different story if had there not been injuries and he was going ahead of Billy Gilmore, then everyone would be slagging him. Because that would have happened, by the way. He 100% would have got ahead of Gilmore. Then everyone would have been slagging him. But anyway, who cares? It's a ridiculous conversation to get in. I probably shouldn't have brought it up.
His name was good.
Well, okay. Someone said that he's no close contacts because his pal McBurney's not there. Did you see McBurney's tweet about? I think that Tyrone Woodley guy is fighting Jake Paul or something.
Where are you going with this? You're saying we can't debate two players, but we'll talk about Jake Paul. I knew you were going with that.
Let me get there. So McBurney had tweeted something like, "Come on, Woodley, do this for us all," or something like "batter Jake Paul for us all." And then someone had replied to it saying, "Well, if you're not too busy beating up children, you might get."
Oh my God! Somebody said in the chat. Somebody says that one bad season, a big understatement. Man, one of the worst Premier League sides of all time. Listen, so was Kenny Miller, a part of the Derby team, and look, he still had that. He still had a lot of minutes in a Scotland jersey and done bits. So I don't know.
Steve's relentless. He's absolutely relentless.
He loves it. He's got post notifications on and everything.
I have to say, thank you, Steve, for the support, though, because it has been top quality. And another thing Steve does, just because I want to big up his involvement in pushing Scottish football, he keeps the chat flowing as well. You know, he's doing everything to drive interest in Scottish football, and I respect that. What a fella, Steve.
He's trying to get modded, man.
Yes. If he keeps this up, I'm telling you, it won't even be in question. Right, let's move on to some of the other things we put in the title of this. I'm going to quickly go to, because Carlo Ancelotti has been confirmed as new Real Madrid manager, apparently. So The Athletic today reported that Everton have identified Steven Gerrard as one of the options for the new manager's job down there, which is the most bonkers headline I've read in a long time, Dev, but that will get clicks, no doubt.
It will indeed. It's not going to happen, though. It's not going to happen. Come on, he's Liverpool through and through.
You never know.
Mate, I'm telling you, 100% that isn't happening. If that happens, Jesus Christ, I'll eat this Scotland jersey live on stream.
You not seen the photo of him in the Everton kit when he was a kid? You know,
when he was a kid, I have indeed. But listen, there's no way that's happening. As you say, they're just after clicks here. I don't think Gerrard, though. Listen, I might be wrong here. I don't see Gerrard leaving to another English club other than Liverpool if that opportunity ever presents itself. If he's good enough to get to that position. Yeah,
I mean, obviously he's not going to go to Everton, Kieran. But the interesting thing on this is that if he had no ties with Liverpool, the conversation would be slightly different. You know, I still don't think he would go, but there would definitely be a conversation, I think, there.
I mean, as much as I've been in the situation where I'd like to think that my manager would not leave to go into pastures new, but obviously it happened with Brendan Rodgers. He claimed to have ties to Celtic, to be this boyhood Celtic fan, and obviously it really wasn't the case at all. He was just playing up to the fans. But I mean, in terms of Steven Gerrard, you're saying he wouldn't leave for any other job apart from Liverpool. I don't know. I mean, I don't think he personally would leave this summer, but see if if the players started getting sold for under him and he wasn't getting the backing, it wouldn't surprise me if he was to leave. I'm not saying Rangers are going to go and have a mass exodus this summer, but if they started selling first-team players and no getting ample replacements, then it wouldn't surprise me if he was to leave to go to somebody in the Premier League. Say, I don't know what sort of club level to actually suggest here, but I'm not saying relegation fodder, but I think a mid-table team, Gerrard would leave.
He would definitely think about it. There's no doubt about it. It'd be something he'd think about, Dev. But listen, I think, look at the jobs that are available just now. I don't think he would leave Rangers for Crystal Palace. I just don't think that would even cross his mind. I think it's too much of a risk. And I've said this before to Ryan. If Steven Gerrard leaves Rangers and goes to Crystal Palace, right, and does shit at Crystal Palace, his chances of getting a Liverpool job are done. He will not get the Liverpool job if he does that. It is too much of a risk. But
he's no Eddie Howe, mate. He's not going to go to a club like that.
But say like a Tottenham, an Arsenal, you know, is he really going to say no to them?
Next season, he's got the opportunity of Champions League football at Rangers. If he wins the league again, he'll go straight into it. So for me, why would you stoop down? Why would you go to a club that's going to be mid-table or relegation fodder? If you're going to go to a club that's going to be playing at a similar level, Champions League football, and if you're good enough to go to a club in England that are going to be competing in the Champions League, then you're good enough for Liverpool. So I don't know. I also think, Kieran, and I have thought about it a lot in terms of Gerrard, what is his goals in management? There's some guys that get into it, like Brendan Rodgers, wasn't a good football player and he had to do it. He's came through the ranks. He's done it for the last 25 years. He wants to get to the very top of management. I think Gerrard does want that. But I've thought about it, and is his goals different for some managers? For example,
all he wants is a Liverpool job. That's all he wants.
Exactly. So if it didn't work out for him at, say, Rangers, and then would he go in search of another club? Is management something he would still continue to pursue? Like Lampard, for example, if will he ever get back into management? Because they've made their name as players. I don't necessarily think they would. Do you know what I mean? So it's all about goals, and I have thought about that with Gerrard. Is it to be at the very top, or is it to be Liverpool manager one day? One that I've also thought about with Gerrard and would worry me is obviously going abroad to certain clubs, but also the England job, because Southgate for me he's not all that.
Somebody's just Daniel's just said that in the chat. It's an interesting shout and something I'd never actually thought about. I didn't mean to highlight a comment, by the way. I don't know. Listen, I think if Gerrard stays at Rangers and wins titles consecutively, when Klopp leaves, he will get the job. I think that would happen. But again, it's one of those though. Until you're put in a situation when you're offered this amount of money in this size of club, it's never easy to predict what will happen. Certainly, he's not going to go anywhere in the time soon. I wouldn't have thought.
Gerrard will get money wherever he goes, but
and
punditry and stuff like that. So
it's an interesting one. Anyway, speaking of managerial jobs, it's going to be weird because we don't have to talk about a certain man who used to manage Bournemouth anymore, which is good because we've done that for the past fucking 2 years. It feels like Ange Postecoglou. I love saying his name because he's got a really nice name to say. Edging closer to becoming Celtic gaffer, Kieran, apparently. There were some worries the other day that something to do with coaching badges. Sounds like that's not really an issue, but the sounds of things. Last night, the Record broke the story that Sean Maloney is in line to be involved in the rebuild at Celtic this summer. Sounds like Fergal Harkin's getting closer as well. How are you feeling personally about Celtic just now?
I mean, it's still quite raw with the whole Eddie Howe situation. Is to have it at the forefront of the media for so long for it to just be gone in an instant. I mean, it's mental not having to sit here and actually talk about him as a possibility anymore because, as I said, I always tried to leave myself that sort of. I wasn't going out and saying he's definitely got to be manager. I always gave that if, but in terms of him not turning up, it is a bit of a disaster in terms of the PR point of view and just in terms of everything at Celtic, but. In terms of Ange Postecoglou, I mean, we've spoken about this in depth on the Celtic Thunder. It's just, when you hear it instantly, you're like, oh my God, who is that? Like, you're instantly taken aback by it. And I don't know, the more you read into it, the more you sort of buy into the idea that it doesn't sound that bad. It actually sounds like it could be an exciting prospect to be Celtic manager, but then you've got the aspect of, I'm being forced to think like this because there's no other options out there for Celtic. Because realistically, who are Celtic going to get as manager? Who is the other option apart from Ange Postecoglou at this point in time? Is it Roy Keane, who's been at management for 10 years, who some people are still trying to push? I would much rather take the leap and appoint Ange Postecoglou, an unknown, instead of Roy Keane. I
will come back to Kieran. Just before we started here tonight, I missed the story. The Record reported at 5:28 that Fergal Harkin to Celtic is off. That's not happening according to the Record now. So apparently, someone in the chat has said that Maloney for director of football. That seems unlikely. I'm just going to read the article here, but that is just another setback. It's just mental how many. The Record reported that Maloney is now the preferred option for the director of football role, which seems a bit bizarre to me.
I think I tuned into. I can't remember if it was the TSF podcast or one of Ryan's podcasts, but they kept talking about something called the City Group and how the club that Ange is at is linked with him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so what's that about? What does that mean? What is the City Group and why?
We've got Melbourne City, New York City, Man City, and I'm guessing Yokohama as well, are all owned by the same sort of group of people. So they have a lot of people.
Is it the board that Celtic have got links to that, and that's why they keep getting
Fergal Harkin. That was the thing.
See, that's the thing. Fergal Harkin, I said this on the podcast yesterday. I was like, Fergal Harkin is as much employed by Celtic as Eddie Howe is. It was always up in the air. It was never confirmed that he was definitely pulling the strings behind the scenes. It was all people just putting two and two together and assuming things. But I mean, even with Fergal Harkin, with his links to the City Group, you've got to remember, in the past, Celtic have got pretty good relations with Man City. The amount of players we've got on loan for them and bought for them, you've got Frimpong, Guidetti, Denier. So the Celtic board themselves have got these connections. So it didn't rely on Fergal Harkin completely, but a lot of people were making the assumptions that he was the one pulling these strings because he knows all these people in the City Group. But I don't know, that's a whole other kettle of fish with the whole City Group talk, because people talk about it as if we're actually a feeder club in it, and we had that debate yesterday about the direction that Celtic are heading if we were to appoint a Fergal Harkin. But I don't know.
Just on Postecoglou, it's a really interesting one. Listen, you can have debates about the appointment and if it's all gamble, all the rest of it is unknown. he's only unknown because we don't. This is going to sound really stupid, but he's only unknown because we don't know him, if you get what I mean. Like, he's not like he's a nobody. He's got a fantastic pedigree. Pep Guardiola says he's one of the top 10 coaches in the world. Now, I mean, take that with a pinch of salt if you want, but this guy is somebody who is highly rated, highly regarded. Yeah, maybe. But he's definitely somebody who is, highly regarded. So, there's definitely quality there. I still think it's got a little bit of a gamble to it. But if you're trying to tell me that going to appoint Roy Keane just because he played for Celtic years ago and hasn't had a job for years, when I'm not having that. So it sounds to me like he is going to be the next name we hear about for the next few weeks. But again, Dev, though, just from your point of view, from an outsider, I don't imagine he's someone on paper that will worry you.
I'm not going to sit here and discredit the guy because I don't know him. As you said, he's pedigree to a certain extent and winning the A-League. I think he won the Japanese League as well. He's won leagues in the past, and obviously that is hard to do. So I'm not going to sit here and absolutely discredit him because too many times foreign managers come into the league, and we're talking about Angelo Alessio, and the first thing they do is automatically assume that they're shite. Eddie Howe was spoke about for so long. I think whoever it was the next guy it was going to be spoken about was destined to failure.
Yeah.
But also to go back to his credentials there, winning the A-League and winning the Japanese League, does that make you good enough to be the manager of Celtic?
No,
I don't know.
But then look at Gerrard's coaching and stuff when he went to Rangers.
We all pressure makes diamonds, mate, and Gerrard proved that in abundance in his career. Mindset's massive. I seen an interview with this Ange guy, and he was losing it a wee bit, and I think he was the manager of Australia, got them to the World Cup. He ends up leaving a month before because he was it media and all that sort of stuff. So that would be my warning signs for me.
It's an interesting one, but I would say that to flip that, Brendan Rodgers before he came to Celtic, wasn't dealing with the pressure of being Liverpool manager. And again, eventually couldn't deal with that job, and it didn't seem to make a great deal of difference to him. There are definitely pros and cons to this. I think that most people were pretty much agreed, Celtic fans and otherwise, that Eddie Howe was about as good as they could have got, and the most probably safest good option they could have got. Now that's out the window. Whatever they do now is going to have people saying it's going to be a disaster, Kieran. There's no way they can unite the fan base now with any appointment.
No, there's no way that we can please everybody with any appointment that we could make. It would take, you need to pull something extraordinary out the bag that is not going to happen at this stage. It's definitely not going to happen. The realistic situation is we are going to be getting Ange Postecoglou. Assume there's no more hitches. But as I said, it's just about, we will need to give the guy a chance because we've not got any other option. And as much as I can sit here and say I'm buying into it more because I've not got any other option. I'm not going to sit here and wish that Celtic manager. Like, you've got so many people out there saying he's got to be a disaster. He very well could be. This could be Celtic's Pedro Cajunia. I'm not going to sit and say he's going to be a perfect appointment because he's on paper. We're looking at it. It's not a perfect appointment. We were never going to get a perfect appointment after Eddie Howe pulling out. But in terms of, I spoke about this on the Celtic podcast as well yesterday. In terms of the way we're looking at it, we're like, he's won the A-League, he's won the Japanese League, but is this something that we should be turning our nose up at? Because as you'll probably see the clip on Twitter, and it's talking about how the English looked in their nose at our league. So it's just to compare it in that situation. We are the people doing it to their league now, and they obviously think we're being arseholes about it because that's the way it comes across. Because that's the way the English come across to us when they're looking down their nose at our league. We know how good our players are, and they don't believe it. And it's they believe that Ange Postecoglou is going to be a brilliant manager, and there's a lot of people out there not believing it. Obviously, we're going to feel hard done by, but I feel the anger's more. It's maybe been a bit misdirected because it should be at the board, but a lot of people are taking out on this manager that's not had a chance yet.
I think David's froze there, to be honest. He's froze. What's Ryan watching in the room, man? He's using all the gigabytes, isn't he?
I know. I seen him freeze, but I didn't. I wasn't sure if he was just sitting there.
Where do we go for here then? What's the chat saying?
Let's see.
Edward McLean says, I'll happily take Ange at this stage, and if reports are true, that's it. It's going to be official by Thursday or Friday this week. I'll take it quicker. Is that what's happening, aye? Oh my God, I think I'm hosting, boys.
I think the hold-up bit is it needs to be signed in person here, so at any point, if it gets agreed, he's still going to have a 10-day isolation period when he comes here for Japan. So it's going to be a hold-up no matter what, but...
This is awkward, isn't it? This is awkward because Davey's got like all the links, so he can highlight your comments, Troops, and he can end the stream. So if he doesn't reappear, it looks like me and you're just going to sit here for as long as possible, Kieran, and start chatting. I may as well plug the socials and the sweepstake because we're doing a TSF sweepstake, £10 per slot, 24 teams, all the money's going back into to the winnings, 170 for the winner, 50 for the runner-up, and 20 for third place. There's only 5 spaces left, though, Troops, so we need to act fast on that. Kieran, who are you hoping for? Oh, he's back.
Yeah, don't worry, I'm here.
We'll just finish off. We'll plug in the sweepstake there. There's only 5 spaces left, so if you are interested in getting involved, just a wee bit of fun on the channel, then hit us up on the Instagram account.
The last major tournament, we did a sweepstake with the football team at home, and I got England for the World Cup in 2018. So I was just at the wind-up all summer long with the It's Coming Home patter. And then when they got to the semi-final, I was like, fuck, do I want the money or do I want them not to win the World Cup? And I was a real catch-22, that Croatia game. But just in case my Wi-Fi dies again, we'll probably wrap this up now. 45-minute show tonight, 250 viewers, which is fantastic stuff. Again, the sport's been clashed recently. Everyone smashed the sub button. Me and Dev have got another video coming up that was shot out yesterday on Saturday, Dev?
Hopefully Saturday, hopefully.
And I think we'll be back post-match. Well, maybe not this trio, but I think we'll do a post-match live reaction to the Netherlands game tomorrow night with our thoughts and discuss everything that happens, and probably a podcast towards the end of the week as well. So thanks everyone for watching, and I need to find the video to play us out. See you later.